Published 0535 EDT, the 4th of November 2017. Updated 0624 EDT, the 4th of November 2017. The Duchess of Cornwall donned a pinny to prepare and serve plates of food to orphans in Kuala Lumpur today as her husband Prince Charles laid a wreath at a Second World War memorial. Camilla was visiting the Lighthouse Children's Welfare Centre when she offered to chop up strips of papaya and hand it out to the waiting children, along with dishes of delicious chicken curry. The royal ended up with her hands sticky with food and probably, she said, a few spots on her beautiful flowing green Anna Valentine tunic and scarf, but was bowled over by the gorgeous children she met. All smiles. The Duchess of Cornwall donned a pinny to prepare and serve plates of food to orphans in Kuala Lumpur today. Camilla arrived at the centre, which helps underprivileged children, after attending church at St. Mary's Cathedral in the centre of the city. Prince Charles lays a wreath at the Stone of Remembrance at the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery. Prince Charles and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, visit Malaysia. Camilla arrived at the centre, which helps underprivileged children, after attending church at St. Mary's Cathedral in the centre of the city with Prince Charles midway through their 11-day tour of Southeast Asia on behalf of the Queen, while her husband flew off by helicopter into the jungle for a day of engagements. Afterwards, she went to learn more about the valuable work of Lighthouse Children's Welfare Home, which houses 60 disadvantaged children, aged 1 to 18 years old. She was also briefed on the Lost Food Project, which reclaims high-quality surplus food from supermarkets and manufacturers, sorts them, and distributes them to a wide variety of charities. The organization currently gives out 5,000 meals a month, all made with high-quality ingredients, and minimizes waste by composting any food unfit for human consumption. Camilla was visiting the Lighthouse Children's Welfare Centre when she offered to chop up strips of papaya and serve chicken curry. The royal ended up with her hands sticky with food and probably, she said, a few spots on her beautiful flowing green Anna Valentine tunic and scarf, but was bowled over by the gorgeous children she met. The Duchess was greeted by the project's chairwoman and founder, Mrs. Suzanne Mooney, and shown a wide variety of the fresh produce that is delivered by the Lost Food Van to charities throughout Kuala Lumpur. Camilla also met volunteers and supporters of the projects, as well as staff and residents of the children's home, bending down to chat to the youngsters who were engaged in a variety of craft activities. Then it was time to roll up her sleeves and help. Camilla, a mother of 2 herself and a grandmother 5 times over, put on her apron and rolled up her sleeves, dexterously chopping up papaya and then sprinkling it with lime juice to make it taste sweeter. Then, much to the surprise of the staff, she got stuck in handing the plates out, even roping in members of the media to help her too. The Duchess was briefed on the Lost Food Project, which reclaims high-quality surplus food from supermarkets and manufacturers and delivers it. Camilla, a mother of 2 herself and a grandmother 5 times over, put on her apron and rolled up her sleeves, dexterously chopping up papaya. "Come on, give me a hand," she laughed. Once the papaya was chopped up and handed out to the smiling, eager youngsters, she turned her hand to giving out plates of sticky rice and curry with vegetables. "This looks and smells delicious," she enthused. "I think we should stay for lunch." At one point the royal had the curry all over her fingers. Looking for something to wipe them on, she joked, "Unfortunately I can't wipe them on myself today," pointing to her beautiful outfit. In the event, she was handed a tea towel, and laughed uproariously when she discovered that it had been specially made for her with the words HRH, the Duchess of Cornwall, printed on it. Always a good sport, she held it up for the cameras. Camilla, 70, also spent time talking to many of the children and was given a pink bead bracelet by Ariana Lewis, 4, the granddaughter of the Lighthouse's founder, and immediate put it on her wrist. "How sweet she is. I love this," she said. In the event, she was handed a tea towel, and laughed uproariously when she discovered that it had been specially made for her with the words HRH, the Duchess of Cornwall, printed on it. Left, she was given a pink bracelet by a young girl. Once the papaya was chopped up and handed out to the smiling, eager youngsters, she turned her hand to giving out plates of sticky rice and curry with vegetables. Indeed, the Duchess was so taken by the gift that she went back to ask for another one from Ariana for the Daily Mail's royal correspondent, Rebecca English. As she left, Camilla was given a beautiful handmade portrait of a peacock made from each of the children's fingerprint and appeared genuinely touched by the thoughtful gesture. A note on the back read, "Your Royal Highness. This painting was specially done for you and His Royal Highness, Prince Charles. We used our thumbprints to do this painting. We put in a lot of colors and also a lot of love for you. Hope you like it, with all our love from the Lighthouse family." "That is just so beautiful," she said. "Thank you so very much," she replied. The Duchess of Cornwall meeting staff during a visit to the Lost Food Project, the first professional food bank in Malaysia. The Duchess of Cornwall meeting residents at the Lighthouse Children's Welfare Centre during a visit to the Lost Food Project. Afterwards, she headed off to the airport to fly to meet her husband to take tea with His Royal Highness Sultan Nazrul Shah of Perak, Deputy Agong King of Malaysia, at his official residence, the Istana Iskandaraya. The Duchess of Cornwall met Sultan Nazrul Shah in October 2017 at Worcester College, Oxford, where she opened the campus' new Sultan Nazrul Shah Centre. The Sultan is an alumnus of Worcester College, as is her own son, Tom Parker Bowles. On Friday, Charles and Camilla got their very own golden thrones when they met His Majesty the Agong of Malaysia. The couple met with the country's ruler at the Istana Negara, the National Palace, in Kuala Lumpur on the second day of their official visit to the country. Prince Charles has paid tribute to those who sacrificed their lives in the Second World War as he laid a wreath for both Christian and Muslim servicemen today. The prince visited the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery in Malaysia, praising the hard work of the volunteers who look after it. Prince Charles lays a wreath at the Cross of Sacrifice at the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery. Prince Charles, during a visit to the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery, he was given a walking tour of the pristine graves by Paul Price, the CWG Commissioner, and Colonel Stephen Hall, British Defence Advisor to Malaysia. Greeted by a military piper from the Royal Gurkha Rifles Brunei, he first walked to the Muslim cemetery, laying a wreath at the Stone of Remembrance and bowing his head in acknowledgement of their service. He then crossed the dusty road to the Christian cemetery opposite, where he paused at the grave of VC Winner Squadron Leader Arthur Stewart King Scarf. Laying second wreath at the Cross of Sacrifice, the prince again bowed his head to reflect. A card on the wreath read, "In grateful remembrance of your service and sacrifice." Introduced to 4 local volunteers who tend to the cemetery, the prince asked them how long they had worked there, 2 or 3 years each, and said he had heard there was a problem with wild boars digging in the grass. "You look like you take very good care of it," he said. "It makes such a difference. I can't thank you enough." Moving into the shade of a gazebo, the prince spent time meeting around 60 veterans, who served with the Commonwealth or British forces in the Second World War, Malayan Emergency or Borneo Campaign. Brigadier General Dato Lau Kong Cheng RTD, a Malaysian Air Force veteran who served in the Malayan Emergency, said veterans had traveled from far and wide to meet the prince. Prince Charles walks along the graves at the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery. He asked us about where we had served and was very interested in listening. "It's a great honor." Dato H.J. Ahmad Tajuddin bin H.J. Abdul Majid, from the National Malaya and Borneo Veterans Association, said it was fantastic. "How do you describe it when you're too happy, overjoyed? He never expected the next king to be so polite and kind." First Admiral Datuk K. Haithuan RTD, Vice President of the Malaysian Armed Forces Chinese Veterans Association, said he was very pleased to see all the veterans here. "For His Royal Highness to come and see this is quite something. The families of the people buried here will be very proud and honored." Mr. Price said the cemetery was currently mostly visited by historians and researchers, and the families of those laid to rest there, as he welcomed the wider interest the royal visit would bring. "It's a great honor to have His Royal Highness visit the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves. Anything that gets people interested and wanting to visit to learn more is a wonderful thing." Laying a wreath, Prince Charles arrives to the Taiping Commonwealth War Graves Cemetery. "We want as many people as possible to come, learn about what happened and pay their respects." Colonel Hall said the prince had paused at the grave of Arthur Scarf, listening to the story of how he won his VC at 28 and marveling at his heroism. On December 9, 1941, Squadron Leader Scarf had been at the Royal Air Force Base at Butterworth, Malaya, when he was on duty as all available aircraft were ordered to attack the Japanese Air Force at Singora, Thailand. Instead, before they could take off, they were dive-bombed by the enemy, which destroyed or damaged everything but the Blenheim piloted by Squadron Leader Scarf, which was already airborne. Against the odds, and vastly outnumbered, he continued the mission to Singora and completed it, making a forced landing at Alor Star mortally wounded. Prince Charles and Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, attends a service at St. Mary's Cathedral. The pair sang hymns during the service in Kuala Lumpur on Saturday morning among the nurses working frantically to save his life at the local hospital was Elizabeth Lunn, his pregnant wife, who donated her own blood in a lady-ditch bid to help. Her efforts were unsuccessful. He died and, soon afterwards, she lost their unborn baby. He now lies in Taiping Cemetery, one of 35 Commonwealth War Graves Commission cemeteries in Malaysia, created by the British Army after the defeat of Japan. There are 864 Second World War Commonwealth casualties and 1 Dutch casualty commemorated on the site, built in 1947, more than 500 of whom are unidentified. Before leaving, the prince signed and dated the visitor book. According to staff, it is the first time a member of the British royal family has visited the site. Charles and Camilla were ushered by the King's Grand Chamberlain, Duke Padua Maharaja Laila, going into the Sari Maharaja room to await their host's arrival. They were seated in two elaborately gilded chairs that looked like royal thrones as they awaited the arrival of the Agong, His Majesty the Yang di Pertuan 15 Sultan Muhammad V. After a short wait, he joined them, taking his seat in an even larger throne for official photographs. Suits you. Charles, the Prince of Wales, looks right at home as he settles down into a throne at the official royal residence of Istana Negara. Yang di Pertuan 15 Sultan Muhammad. Royal treatment. Charles and Camilla were ushered by the King's Grand Chamberlain, Duke Padua Maharaja Laila, going into the Sari Maharaja room to await their host's arrival. Old friends. The Prince of Wales and the King of Malaysia most recently met in May 2017 at the Oxford Centre for Islamic Studies, where Charles, who is the centre's patron, opened its new buildings. Charles is pictured here with a dignitary, awaiting his host's arrival. The Prince of Wales and the King of Malaysia most recently met in May 2017 at the Oxford Centre for Islamic Studies, where Charles, who is the centre's patron, opened its new buildings. During the event, the prince gave a speech calling for a strengthening of ties between the Muslim and Western worlds. The Duchess of Cornwall was mobbed by crowds of excited schoolchildren after touching down in Kuala Lumpur on Friday, just hours after joking of her wish to slow down. Camilla, 70, was visiting the international school at Park City in the Malaysian capital with Raja Zarath Sofia, the Queen of Johor, and the school's principal Andrew Dalton, as part of her Southeast Asian tour with husband the Prince of Wales. The Duchess of Cornwall later changed into a floor-length powder pink gown for a gala dinner to mark 60 years of diplomatic ties between the UK and Malaysia. Prince Charles was dapper in a tux as he escorted his wife into the gala dinner in Kuala Lumpur. The Duchess of Cornwall visits Kuala Lumpur's international school in Park City with Principal Andrew Dalton Centre and Her Majesty Raja Zarath Sofia, Queen of Johor. Close encounter. Charles was almost mistaken for a Time Lord when he stepped out of a TARDIS at the War co-working space for young entrepreneurs, but luckily there wasn't a Dalek inside. It came after the Duchess told the wife of the Sultan of Brunei, "It's more tiring as you get older. I keep trying to tell everybody that I'm not as young as I used to be, and have to slow down." Meanwhile, Charles was almost mistaken for a Time Lord when he stepped out of a TARDIS, but luckily there wasn't a Dalek in sight. The prince walked into Doctor Who's famous time machine when he visited a co-working space for startup companies in the city, but was only transported a few feet into a members-only area. Mobbed. The beaming Duchess is barely visible among the throngs of brightly dressed pupils as she meets staff and teachers at the international school at Park City. Camilla, 70, was visiting the international school at Park City in the Malaysian capital as part of her Southeast Asian tour with husband the Prince of Wales. Grueling schedule. The pit stop came after the Duchess told the wife of the Sultan of Brunei, "I keep trying to tell everybody that I'm not as young as I used to be, and have to slow down." The heir to the throne, who is on an 11-day tour of Southeast Asia and India, met young entrepreneurs, tech-savvy school children showcasing projects, and established businesses during his tour of WORQ. A TARDIS has been created as the doorway from the public space into the private members area, and, as staff walked through a nearby side entrance, Charles emerged from the replica of the BBC character's sci-fi machine. He joked with the waiting press, saying, "I should have gone through the side door before sitting down to a meeting with executives from some of Malaysia's established technology firms." Andrew Yeo, 28, co-founder of WORQ, which opened in March, said they had tried to create a relaxed, fun and practical working environment for fledgling businesses, offering facilities like a gym, sleeping pods and a cafe, and much-needed space for firms to grow. The prince walked into Doctor Who's famous time machine when he visited a co-working space for startup companies in the city, but was only transported a few feet into a members-only area. The heir to the throne, who is on an 11-day tour of Southeast Asia and India, met young entrepreneurs, tech-savvy school children showcasing projects, and established businesses during his tour of WORQ. The TARDIS has been created as the doorway from the public space into the private members area, and, as staff walked through a nearby side entrance, Charles emerged from the replica of the BBC character's sci-fi machine. Charles joked with the waiting press, saying, "I should have gone through the side door before sitting down to a meeting with executives from some of Malaysia's established technology firms." The royal points to his framed signature written in Arabic, a gift to the museum at its unveiling by Nazrin Muizuddin Shah. Shah, the Sultan of Perak, during his visit to the Islamic Arts Museum on Friday. Missing Camilla. Charles looks pensive as he views exhibits during his visit to the Islamic Arts Museum on Friday. Solo engagement. The Prince of Wales meets 12-year-old Arif Almirali with his child abuse detector device, at a tour of My Digital Maker student showcase during his visit to War co-working space for young entrepreneurs on Friday. He said the response to the TARDIS has been good so far. A lot of people find it really cool. They don't realize it's a door. It's quite quirky and helps with the ambience. The 28-year-old added, "This is the first of its kind in Malaysia, a co-working productivity community. What I mean by that is we try and solve two big problems for new businesses. Real estate, issues of having to get an office, and issues entrepreneurs have like increasing sales or trying to connect with regulators or partners. We're trying to help them by providing a supportive community." Welcome present. The Duchess receives a gift from a child at Pusadanak Permata Negara PAPN Putrajaya during the first day of their visit to Malaysia on Friday. Camilla, seated with Datin Paduka Seri Haja Rosma Mansur, First Lady of Malaysia, is entranced by a group of children who performed a traditional Malay wedding dance for her in the Malaysian capital. Dinner time. The Duchess chats to adorable youngsters during her trip to Pusadanak Permata Negara PAPN Putrajaya. Earlier, Camilla was entranced by a group of children who performed a traditional Malay wedding dance for her in the Malaysian capital. The Duchess was visiting the Permata Negara, an educational facility for children up to 4, when the youngsters, dressed in traditional Malaysian outfits, entertained her with a silat for the bride. "How sweet, they are just adorable," the royal said. Camilla was greeted by Datin Paduka Seri Hjh. Rosma Mansur, First Lady of Malaysia and founder of the Permata, who led her on a guided tour of the facility just outside Kuala Lumpur. Non-stop. Camilla also watched youngsters decorating flower eggs, or Megias Bunga Teller, and creating flowers Bunga Mangar, as well as meeting teachers leading the activities. Color coordination. Her Majesty Raja Zareth Sophia, the Queen of Johor and the Duchess of Cornwall visit the international school at Park City in Kuala Lumpur on Friday. She saw youngsters decorating flower eggs, or Megias Bunga Teller, and creating flowers Bunga Mangar, as well as meeting teachers leading the activities. Camilla was also charmed after two of the children greeted her with a double handshake while another took her hand and held it to their heart, a sign of honor. The Permata programs were founded by the First Lady of Malaysia with the objective of providing a platform that enables children to achieve their potential through cultural learning. Permata Negara cares for newborns up to preschool-aged children.